We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship.
In 1961, America had a new president and a new torchbearer in the Cold War.
To assure the survival and the success of liberty.
President John F. Kennedy was committed to saving South Vietnam from communism, but he wasn't prepared to pay any price, as he boasted during his inaugural address. He rejected the idea of sending Americans into combat. Instead, he authorized substantially more money and military aid to help South Vietnam defend itself. American military advisors trained Siem's South Vietnamese army to fight in a guerrilla war. In military terms, it was called counterinsurgency.
Where their eyes are, so is the muzzle of their weapon.
700 advisors in 1960 swelled to 3,000 in late 1961, and to over 17,000 2 years later. Officially, their role was limited to combat training and support operations. But Americans played an increasingly active role in confronting the Viet Cong. Beginning in 1962, American helicopters were used to carry the fight to the enemy. For the first time, the South Vietnamese army could penetrate even the most remote Viet Cong sanctuaries. But even with the advantage of American technology, they were losing ground to the communists. The Viet Cong won the support of the people. They received food, shelter, and information. Most peasants detested Siem's army and resented the foreign support of the United States. American officials ignored this struggle for the hearts and minds of the people and instead focused on misleading reports from the battlefield. In October 1962, Defense Secretary Robert McNamara reported optimistically that every quantitative measurement shows that we are winning the war. To sever the link between villagers and communist guerrillas, the Diem government forced millions of South Vietnamese to leave their homes and relocate to fortified villages called strategic hamlets.
We are building strategic hamlets to bring peace throughout the country. Volunteers from every class and age, men and women and children, began the hard physical work of construction.
The hamlets were devised to starve insurgents of peasant support, but they became virtual prisons for their inhabitants, fueling resentment towards the Saigon government and building support for the Viet Cong. Hardliners on the president's staff lobbied for the commitment of American combat troops. A few counseled for a complete withdrawal from Vietnam. But Kennedy believed the middle ground was the right course, and that progress was being made.
No, we are putting in a major effort in Vietnam. As you know, some phases the military program has been quite successful. There is great difficulty, however, in fighting a guerrilla war. You need 10 to 1 or 11 to 1, especially in terrain as difficult as South Vietnam. But so we don't see the end of the tunnel, but I must say I don't think it's darker than it was a year ago, in some ways lighter.
By 1963, Diem's inflexibility and corruption had brought his government to the verge of collapse. Saigon seethed in protest that summer as Buddhist monks demonstrated against religious harassment. On June 11th, a monk named Quan Duc sat down in the middle of a busy Saigon street, doused himself with gasoline, and lit himself on fire. Images of the burning monk shocked the world. Diem imposed martial law in the capital and ordered a crackdown against Buddhist sanctuaries, igniting anti-government demonstrations. Diem's sister-in-law, Madame Nhu, made the Saigon government seem even more insensitive.
What have the Buddhist leaders done comparatively? The only thing they have done, they have barbecued one of their monks, whom they have intoxicated, whom they have abused the confidence. And even that barbecuing was done not even with self-sufficient means, because they use imported gasoline.
In the final analysis, it's their war.
Do you think that this government still has time to regain the support of the people?
With changes in policy and perhaps in personnel, I think it can. If it doesn't make those changes, I would think that the chances of winning it would not be very good.
The Buddhist crisis sealed Diem's fate. The United States could no longer claim to be fighting for democracy while supporting a despotic regime. With American consent, a military coup was launched on November 1st, 1963. With the presidential palace under siege, Diem escaped, only to be recaptured within hours. By the following morning, he was dead. 3 weeks later, President Kennedy was assassinated. Diem's murder would haunt American leaders in the years ahead, and the nation's complicity in his demise would draw the United States ever deeper into the quagmire that was Vietnam.